What's up, everyone? Welcome to popculture.com's group chat, where we talk about all the reality TV news that we care about and you really need to know. I'm one of your hosts, Anna Rumor.
And I'm Jameson Brown.
And I'm Victoria Magadamy.
We have got, like always, an amazing show for you this week. If I do say so myself, we're going to talk about the loss of Regis Philbin, which really, I feel like has hit all of us more than we even thought it would. So we're going to talk and pay tribute to him a little bit. The Ellen DeGeneres Show is under investigation. Apparently, things aren't as happy behind the scenes as they are on the stage, and it's kind of one of Hollywood's interesting, not-so-secret secrets. So we'll talk about that. We've got a Kim and Kanye update for you, because you know that news cycle never stops. And Demi Lovato's engaged, which is a nice little fun way to wrap it up. But who is that guy? And we'll break that down for you.
Everyone's greatest question this week.
I know. Right before this, I was like, I don't know if I know how to pronounce that, so I had to Google that.
Nobody knows who he is.
Yeah, and right, isn't that the dream? Marrying a beautiful no one.
Yes.
Oh,
Sorry, Max. We'll get to that. Let's start off with Regis. I was so sad. We found out Friday or Saturday that he had died Friday, a month before he turned 89, and he's just being remembered by pretty much everyone he's ever worked with as the most genuine and wonderful human being. So I don't know, that one kind of hit me more than I would expect for someone who's kind of older and died of natural causes. How did you guys take that?
yeah, he's a legend.
Yeah,
Right?
I mean, I feel like so I'm from Florida, back in my Florida days, my mom and I used to wake up early in the morning and watch Regis and Kathy Lee. And I remember trying to like curl up on the couch and be like, my mom, I had my like little Mermaid cup, and my mom I wanted coffee with her so badly.
Course.
And so I would try to like imitate her. Of course, she'd give me like this much coffee and like the rest would be milk. And we would watch that show together. And so I grew up watching Regis, and I have so much respect for him. It broke my heart to hear that. But as weird as this sounds, I'm glad it was of natural causes and not something like super crazy and dramatic, you know.
We're in COVID time, so anytime guys, I'm like, oh God, was it COVID?
Is it COVID? I know, that was my first thought. I was like, with his age and everything, like, was it COVID? So I'm just, at least in a weird way, refreshed to find out that it was not COVID and it wasn't something like, you know, super, super sad.
Right, yeah. What about you, Jameson?
No, I mean the same. I think it kind of took everybody just by big surprise. You know, because that happened on Saturday, correct? This past week.
Yeah, he passed away on Friday evening, but we found out on Saturday.
You know, and you kind of and when that happens, you kind of look back and see the full catalog of everything that was done. You know, between you know, his television show hosting and like with Kelly Ripa and the days before, and Kathy Lee Gifford, and then also like Who Wants to Be a Millionaire was a huge, like,
yes.
That was huge. That was kind of a huge second chapter to everything. So there was just such like monumental weight with his career. So, but you know, he lived a long life. You know, 88, 89 years old, and you know, had a amazing career, and you know, well liked by everybody. So.
Right. Yeah. What else could you ask for?
Yeah.
I
was going to say, he's very well liked.
Oh yeah. Everyone, no one has said a bad thing about him, which is, I guess, the best you can ask for when you die. I wasn't really big into like the talk show scene. Still am not super big into the talk show scene, but I remember him on Who Wants to Be a Millionaire because I am an insufferable know-it-all. And I loved that show because you kind of had a 1 in 4 chance of getting it right. Like, it's hard to fake your way through Jeopardy sometimes. But as a kid, I was like, look how smart I am on Millionaire. And so I once I got older and I realized he had this whole other side to his career, I was kind of surprised because I just saw him as the guy who handed out the money and told you, is that your final answer? So it hit me harder than I expected to. I was reading, I was just scrolling through Twitter. And I was like, oh, that sucks.
It was kind of refreshing though to see. I mean, I hate that it was at the cause of, you know, his death, but like to see everyone kind of come together, celebrities, fans, like people on my feed posting photos of Regis and all the celebrities just be like, oh my gosh, he was the greatest ever. Like, you know, and like you said, like no one has had a bad thing to say. Everyone loves Regis. He was just like, you know, I was so well liked, you know?
Yeah, and Kathy Lee and
Oh,
Ryan Seacrest and Kelly Ripa have had really beautiful tributes to him. They've
yeah.
said Ryan Seacrest called him the ultimate class act, which I think is especially in show business, like one of the top things that you can be called, and told this story about how, you know, whenever he took over for him, he was really nervous, and he approached him, and Ryan was like, I was sweating bullets just because he's this icon and I'm supposed to step into these shoes. And he walked up and just gave him a big hug, and he was like, that was the moment I felt like I was accepted, and I felt good moving forward with the gig, which has now become his own. And so I love that story. And then Kelly Ripa was saying during this 2020 special about his life the other day that when they were sitting down and talking about broadcasting and how to be a star, he told her that the secret was always being yourself, both on and off camera, because people can tell if you're not being genuine. And I thought that really spoke to just who he was as a person.
Yeah.
And
Kathy Lee,
it was really funny and like quick-witted too, which is,
oh my gosh, so funny.
Yeah.
I've been loving
and he
the
could
moments.
sing.
Oh, he could sing? I didn't know that.
Yeah, I learned that yesterday, that he could actually sing.
Right.
So he sang for a long time ago. Actually, his family, in the statement that they gave once they broke their silence, had mentioned that one of his highlights of his career, something that he really was like, this was like a pivotal moment for me, was when and please forgive me, I cannot remember the show that he was the sidekick on, but he sang for Bing Crosby. He loved Bing Crosby and sang for him, and actually did a really good job. And that's actually what got him his first like record deal, which I didn't even know Regis had a record deal.
Wow, okay.
Oh my gosh. Well, talk about like a triple threat.
Yeah. So he just, I don't know. I think he brought so much to the table, but it did kind of sadden me that Kathy Lee, in one of her statements, said that the last time they got together was a few weeks prior to his death. Mm-hmm. And she said that they laughed and they enjoyed their time, but she could not help but to think after he left, would that be the last time that she saw him? Because she could tell that he just wasn't doing as good. He was still laughing, but she could just tell that she used the word failing. But she just could, you can tell when someone's just not doing well. And so, but she spoke so highly of him, and I just missed them back in the day. I loved their show.
I've just been loving all the resurfacing moments from all his shows. Like it just what was it? It was the first millionaire on Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, first person who ever won $1 million. And it was the guy, this clip has been on Twitter for years, but every time it comes around, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is the best thing that's ever happened on live TV. And it was whenever he knew the answer and he called his dad, phone a friend, and was kind of pretending like he didn't know. And he called his dad just to be like, hey Dad, I don't need your help. I just wanted to let you know I'm going to win $1 million. And Regis's reaction to it was the best. He was just like, well, okay. And so it's been kind of fun to like relive all of his little moments and be like, man, that was a ton of fun. Man, the 2000s were fun.
I know. The 90s and the 2000s, the early 2000s.
Take me back.
Yes. If I could go back to the 90s today, I would.
Yeah, exactly. Well, let's move on to the talk show of today, which, like everything else from today, isn't quite as fun. The Ellen DeGeneres Show, everyone knows it. It's on in every doctor's waiting room ever, and I don't even mean that shadily. I just feel like every time I go to the doctor,
everyone loves it.
The Ellen Show is on this, like at this time too. Always
it's a fan favorite.
It is. And I say this as someone whose mom looks like Ellen, so I always really do like have an extra fondness for her, just subconsciously. So I was really bummed. It's been a couple years in the making where there's been whispers that working on her show is not great, that she's maybe not as nice as she comes across on TV. And then you get the Dakota Johnson interview that comes forward where people are like, what is going on? And then just in July, BuzzFeed published this investigation where they talked to like 10 people who had worked on the show, or one person who currently works on the show, who were saying that it's a really toxic work environment, listed instances of like racism, fear, and intimidation. Variety reported right at the beginning of the pandemic that everyone who was this legacy employees of the show were left in the dark about their pay going into the pandemic. So a lot of stuff has been coming out for the past couple months that make people be like, ooh, yikes, that doesn't sound great. And then Warner Brothers is apparently, according to Variety, investigating the show. So I'm curious to see what happens there. But for me, other than just, it being kind of an interesting news item, it made me think a lot about how TV production is changing, especially in light of the America's Got Talent investigation that kind of came off of very similar accusations of behind the screen or behind the scenes. And what were you guys thinking about just the kind of news cycle that continues to go with these investigations?
Ellen, I mean, I feel like on the Ellen front with this, it's not. There's been like you said, there's been grumblings for this for years and years and years, long time. And there have been reports, about her specifically, with things like this. So it's if it's time for that stuff just to be investigated and looked at a little bit more formally, then so be it. Then it's that time. So
I feel like it crushes my heart to see these reports about Ellen, because I feel like I fell in love with her so much with her show and with Finding Dory and Finding Nemo and all of that. I mean, I literally have this sincere soft spot for Ellen in my heart. But I will say, when I lived in LA years ago, I had heard rumors of that. And this was years ago. But I also have had friends that have worked on the show that they have not said anything, which now there's, reports saying that there were non-disclosures that had to be signed if you worked on the show. So I feel like now I'm putting all this together. I'm like, okay, well, that makes sense why they wouldn't say anything, knowing that I work in media. But so I feel like I'm shocked, but I'm not shocked because, again, living in LA, I'd heard this a couple of times, but I just figured since it never came to light that maybe it was just people who just, I don't know, were grumpy on the job. But I don't know. But you know what? I will say this. After the America's Got Talent situation and now, this, I'm hoping that moving forward, this will create a better work environment, in production and in studios in Hollywood moving forward. Maybe it'll bring some light to maybe some things that need to be changed. So I think.
And it kind of seems like the cult of celebrity is no longer shielding bad behavior as much anymore, especially with these kind of investigations where before on America's Got Talent and Ellen, you felt lucky to have a job. You kind of felt indebted to the personalities at the front and felt like you had no power to speak out about them. But I feel like as the more these investigations keep going, the more people behind the scenes feel like they actually can speak out against, Simon Cowell, Ellen DeGeneres, the huge names in Hollywood. And I mean,
yes,
thank God.
I think you bring up a really good point, because I think working in Hollywood and when you get on a show like that and you're starting off as a PA, you just want to pay your dues and move up the ladder, right? But a lot of times, people feel that they can't speak up. And so I think that this is kind of opening that door for people to, be able to say, hey, this is kind of what I've dealt with. And yeah, I think there's going to be a shift in how things are handled in situations like that. So
yeah, it's good. I'm excited to see what comes out of it, and hopefully some real change is made instead of just, it's a third party that's investigating it. So hopefully that'll be a little bit more than just them being like, we looked and everything's fine.
Yes, that is true. That is true. But I do have to say it's heartbreaking. I feel like I've watched Ellen for years, and to hear this stuff, I'm just like, oh, man.
I know. It was, I think it was a Jezebel piece or maybe it was Gawker a couple years ago that I read that was like, Ellen DeGeneres is not a nice person and it's Hollywood's biggest secret. And I was like, what? And I read it and was like, oh no. And then I've kind of had to break up with that. So, but then again, also, I guess you don't really, part of me is like, well, of course, if you're in the public eye that much and people are always wanting your attention, do you really owe anyone being super nice all the time? No. But do you owe people not being a total jerk and, a toxic work environment, no, that's bad too. So I'm happy.
Yeah.
I think there's
a
like
line.
a line that can be drawn with like, I totally get, if you're at that level and you've been at that level for years and years and years, and sometimes there's a little frustration here and there. Totally get that. That's normal. We're human. Totally. But to consistently be an a-hole every day in and day out, if that's what it is, I'm not saying it is. I'm just saying if that's what's found, to the point where it's like, a way too aggressive, possibly abusive, etc. That's where you got to draw the line. So
exactly.
Agreed.
Checks and balances, y'all. We're gonna go to a break real quick, and then we'll come back for Kanye and Kim, and then Demi Lovato ended on a high note. So we'll be right back. All right, guys, we are back, and we are talking Kanye. At first, let's just get that out of the way.
Where do we start?
From it all.
I legit had to listen to last week's episode to be like, where did we leave off in this never-ending story? So since we last spoke about this, Kanye took to Twitter to apologize to Kim, which seems like a good sign. He wrote on Twitter Saturday, "I would like to apologize to my wife, Kim, for going public with something that was a private matter. I did not cover her like she has covered me. To Kim, I want to say, I know I hurt you. Please forgive me. Thank you for always being there for me," which I thought was a pretty good apology for being on Twitter.
Well, it sounded, just the way that it was worded, it sounded like it wasn't just PR. You know what I mean? That sounded like it came straight from him. And that, to me, if it just comes straight from the person, I appreciate that 10 times more than just like this PR written apology of, so I appreciate that.
Well, and part of me went back and forth because I was like, well, you're married. You should just call her. But then also he did just not publicly. So when you go public in the beginning, it might track to go public with the apology too.
Well, I'm sure that they had probably a conversation behind the scenes, but I think good point. Him going public with all of that stuff in the first place, I think that he owes it to his followers and his wife to publicly apologize so people can be like, okay, there was an apology, stated. But that whole situation, I mean, I'm not going to lie, when they got married years ago, I was just like, my first thought was like, I don't know, maybe she sees something that we don't, but I feel like I'm not surprised that they're getting to this point. I hope that they can work things out, but it doesn't look like it by, what sources have said, like they're kind of done.
And it's difficult. This is kind of, obviously I'm not in their marriage, so I don't know, but the way that he's spoken about her over the years and the way that we've watched him change her aesthetic over the years, and she's spoken about him changing her aesthetic. She was like, he went in, took all my old clothes and we're like, ew, disgusting, and then put her in a bunch of bike shorts, which now I'm wearing bike shorts. How dare you, Kanye?
The trend he has started.
It's happening. They're comfortable.
They really are.
Right. But anyways, the way he talked about her is kind of like a muse. And when you put someone on a pedestal in that way and see them more as a figurehead for your creativity as opposed to a real human being that you love and respect, I think the downfall is always historically, if you look at people and their muses, things typically don't work out super well in the end because that's just not how human relationships work. So I'm not sure if that's what's happening with them, but it does seem that way. But like you said, there's probably a private conversation. Well, the next day or Monday, it was Monday, Kim did go to Wyoming and was photographed having a very tense conversation with Kanye in the car. So they have met in person since then. But the skeptical part of me is like, how did paparazzi get a picture of you two arguing in the car?
I know.
Yeah,
that's like in the back of my head, every time a photo like that comes out, it's like, wait a second.
Although I will say this. I mean, I don't know how paparazzi work, but I feel like because of the elevated situation, I'm sure that like paparazzi are being sent out to Wyoming like, hey, we need to be watching both in LA and in Wyoming. I mean, you just never know.
But private property laws. Yeah.
Oh, was it on their property? They weren't just out in public?
No, they were at the ranch.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, that changes the game a little bit. If it's on their property, then yes.
It does, and not to get too
haven't
deep into this because this is a rabbit hole, but the company that put out the paparazzi pictures are known to Photoshop the Kardashian pictures and put them out like they're paparazzi pictures. So a lot of the good paparazzi pictures we see of them are from that company, whereas other paparazzi companies that put out pictures of the Kardashians look very different. So it is pretty much, I mean, theorized, but pretty much confirmed that they have a relationship with them.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that changes it then. I didn't know it was on.
We think that. We suspect that.
It's theorized by many people. And if you look at the pictures, it's like, they look really, really different in these pictures that they post to their Instagrams as opposed to different ones. This is like, this is not a secret in any way, shape, or form. This is pretty widely talked about. Not pulling back the curtain that much. But so that happened. That was interesting. She went back to LA by herself, was photographed getting off the plane there. Which, tarmacs are different, so who knows. And then later on that day, on Monday, Kanye was photographed going to the hospital in Wyoming. He stayed there for apparently like 10 minutes, according to sources for Entertainment Tonight, for what they said was anxiety. He decided he didn't actually want to be treated at the hospital. Makes sense. He's super famous. So an ambulance came later about day to the ranch, and apparently he's fine, and it was anxiety related. So it sucks.
Like, what do you say about this situation? Yeah, it's just a sucky situation, and I think that we all too have to remember that these are two humans going through something real, and whether they've staged paparazzi photos or not, like, they're still going through something that's challenging. And I'm sure Kim was extremely upset that he revealed so many personal little factoids about their family, considering the Kardashians are just super tight on what they allow the public to see and what they don't. So I don't know, it's a weird situation. I hate it for him, I really do.
I feel like there's this Godfather parallel here with like Michael Corleone has to totally. She's Michael Corleone. She's got to choose the family over Diane Keaton, and that's what the door closes on Kanye like it did Diane Keaton, and she's going to choose the family. I don't know.
Yeah.
That's me making a movie reference, but
no, I know. I totally get that, because it is. I'm sure there's still a lot of love between the two of them, but like you said, they run a tight ship, and loose lips sink ships.
And we talked about this last week about reality families who have kind of been successful in the public eye. And, I think, I can't remember if it was Jameson or Anna, but one of y'all brought up the fact that, like, the difference between the Kardashians and other people is that they have made their reality series their life. And so I feel like if you do anything to jeopardize their life, their image, their anything, you're going to be, shut out. And I'm not saying that is why they're getting divorced, but I am just saying what you just said. Like, they run a tight ship, and I would not be surprised if Kim was just like, listen, man, like, you've been going on rants for years now, and like, at this point you've brought our family into it, you brought our kids into it, so like at some point we gotta just
they're not getting divorced, right? That's just like
it's just a rumor.
Speculation
right now. It's speculation.
There's a lot of sources saying a lot of things. If you look at different places, they're like, they're not getting a divorce, they're sticking together. Other people are like, they're definitely getting a divorce, and some people are like, well, maybe. So who knows? But he hasn't tweeted anything else, so that makes me think that maybe he's getting the help that he needs. He's got some people up there who are supporting him. So all good signs for his mental health and for people who are taking care of him. So, I mean, I send my best wishes to him, regardless of whatever situation's going on there.
Yep.
Let's move on to Demi Lovato's engagement. Wow. She's engaged to Max Ehrich. That is how you pronounce it, apparently. It has been like fast and furious. First of all, love Demi. She's fantastic. I feel for her and all the happiness in the world for her. But this has been very quick. They moved in together in March at the start of quarantine, which is just a few weeks after they met. And you know how a lot of people have been getting divorced during quarantine.
Yeah.
Apparently they have been having a great time together, and the opposite of the quarantine curse happened, and
which is refreshing to see.
Right?
And he's also very different from boyfriends in the past for her.
Yes.
Very different. And a lot of people were just kind of like, who is this guy? Wasn't he on a soap opera? Isn't that what he's
on The Young and the Restless.
Oh, okay.
So I'm not a big soap person, so I don't know how big his role is on there, but that is what he's from.
Yeah. But I just want Demi to be happy. Like, I hope that she's not rushing this and then we're going to see a marriage and then a divorce a year or two later. I'm really hoping that that's not the case. But it's just very nice to see that girl smiling. That girl's been through it, you know?
It is. And she said something the other day on Instagram, I think. It was July 24th. Now that I'm looking at the notes, I don't just know that off the top of my head. I was rolling my eyes like I was thinking about that. What am I talking about? Like I said, insufferable know-it-all. So she wrote on Instagram on July 24th, I genuinely say I feel free of my demons, and it's not just because I fell in love, but because over the past 2 years, I've done more work on myself than I have in my entire life. And that was on the 2-year anniversary of her overdose. So
yeah, and that's really, it's so nice to hear. Like,
right?
I just want her to be happy.
She's also in the movie Eurovision on Netflix, and it's really funny.
She wasn't coming in real quick. Here's his resume.
She plays a ghost who's constantly on fire, so it's really funny.
Oh, that's hilarious. Okay, well, I haven't seen him in anything. Whenever they first started dating, I was like, who is he? And then I was getting him confused with Ariana Grande's realtor boyfriend, but he's an actor too. Apparently, from everyone that I've read things from, he's apparently a sweetheart. And judging by the size of that ring on her finger, he's also super loaded. I know there's a lot of money in soaps, so.
Yeah, I was about to say, when I saw that ring, I was like, who is this guy? Where do you come from? Where is this money coming from? I got so many questions. Like, you know, I don't know. I had a thought and then it escaped my mind. I'll think of it when I'm not trying to think of it.
It was because it was blinded of you out by that.
I know the ring just like took over every thought in my mind. If you have not seen that diamond, you guys need to go to her Instagram immediately and go look at that diamond. It is gorgeous. It is huge. It is like,
it's like J-Lo status. Remember she showed off her ring and you're like,
status.
Yes.
Yeah.
And she deserves it.
That thing is millions, and I don't know, like, good for him and good for her.
Yeah, but I'm excited to see more of him because now that, I mean, you know how media works. Now that he's connected to Demi Lovato, we're going to start hearing more stories about him. Before, I'm sure he's been doing great stuff and posting stuff on Instagram, but no one's reported on it because, like, pretty niche. Now we're going to know a lot of stuff about him, and he sounds nice, so I'm fine with that.
I know. She needs a nice guy that's not, like, super overly famous. You know, I'm sure he's going to get to some status being with her, but, like, you know, she just needs a nice guy. Like,
Max, we are watching you like a hawk. America and the world is watching you.
Yes.
And if you mess up, we will take you down.
I feel like the rest of America are like Demi's parents. Like, you better not treat her mean. You better be good to her. I don't even know.
She is a nice young lady.
She is a nice young lady, and you treat her with respect.
That's a lot of pressure, but I think he's up to it based on the two things that I know about him.
Yes.
Yes. Be home by 10 o'clock each night.
Exactly. Yes.
I don't care. They'll be married for 5 years, and I'll still be like, eyes, fingers, my dude. So, so congrats to them. If you haven't seen the ring, you should check it out just for your own wow factor. And then let's move on to our pop culture picks of the week.
Okay, so I'll jump in.
Jameson's been on the movie watching spree recently.
Yeah, well, this isn't that far from it. It's TV. So Sister's coming back to Netflix.
Yeah.
Wait, what is coming back?
Sister. I used to watch that show.
Yes. I knew how much I missed you.
All the freaking time when I was a kid, along with all the other shows, you know, like Sister, The Nanny, all those, you know, that whole bucket of like TGIF style shows, Step by Step, you know, Fresh Prince, obviously, all these. So and there was a bunch of
90s.
others
The
that
90s.
are coming that Netflix acquired to
Heck yes.
get on the platform. So pretty pumped about that.
Jameson, were you a Tia or a Tamara back in the day?
Ooh.
That I had to get back to you on that. That's a very hard question.
Because I always wanted to be a Tamara, but I knew deep in my heart that I was a Tia. And this is something that I feel like every child at that time had to reckon with. Maybe just if you're a girl, but I don't know. What about you, Victoria? Tia or Tamara?
Oh God, I'll be very honest with you. It's been so long since I've watched that show. I kind of forget. I know. But I do remember that I liked their brother's show, Smart Guy. He's a smart guy.
Oh yeah.
That was so good.
I loved that. I loved that show. I just love that 90s shows are coming back. They're finding a way to implement it in our streaming services. It makes me so happy. I'm with you on that one, Jameson.
It's because millennials are in the leadership now, and they're like, "What should we do?" And everyone's
bring back the 90s.
What if we put all that on Netflix? What if we put Drake and Josh on there?
Stuff back.
Yes, I'm down for that.
Meanwhile, Gen Z is like, "What?"
Yeah.
Fair.
What is
we're
this
old
old people
now.
stuff? Yeah, we're officially
It's
old.
fine.
Yeah.
Okay, that's
that
a good
very
one.
reality is shocking. Yeah. Mine is okay. I love that. If you guys remember, I think it was last week. Martha Stewart came out with
that's mine.
Oh, is it? Oh my god.
Go.
Okay. I'll say my side, and then we'll give you your side.
Yes.
I love that Martha Stewart came out with this fabulous poolside photo. She makes what is she, 77 years old? Like
she's 78.
78.
Oh, good for her. If I look that fabulous next to a pool, like I'm doing something right in life.
I don't look that good now.
I know. I'm
28.
like, I can't even look that good now on a poolside, but good for her. Anyways, love. Okay, so if you guys are familiar with the story, Chelsea Handler decided to imitate the photo, and Martha Stewart left savage but fond comment on Chelsea Handler's photo, and now the two are going to get together. Can I say it? What they're planning on doing?
Absolutely. That's what they said.
Okay. They're planning on smoking a joint together. Mm-hmm. And I'm hoping that if they do this, they post another pool photo side by side of them together. Like I want it to be Martha Stewart photo, but then Chelsea Handler side by side.
I would like a live stream of the whole process, actually. Let's get more.
I agree. Let's get details. Let's get in deep with this. If they're listening, we would appreciate if you guys would go live on Instagram.
Please. That would be save 2020. I'm
gonna let you take your, whatever you have to say about this.
I mean, it's the same thing that you said, where it's just I loved that and she posted that. I love that Chelsea Handler kind of made fun of her, like poking gently. And then Martha Stewart went back and was basically like, my pool's bigger than yours and my face doesn't look as, what she said, she was like, I think I look a little more relaxed in mine.
Relaxed, yeah.
I had a question about this. I couldn't tell if when Chelsea Handler made the comment did the picture and then she made the comment, like, was the exchange like
it was fun and games.
I think it was a little shady fun and games. You know, like even you're poking
I
back
read
and
it
forth.
as like fun and games, but then I read like 20% of it seemed like kind of a jab. You know what I mean? So I don't know. I couldn't tell.
I mean, I just like you make fun of your friends where you're like, oh my gosh. And then they're like, oh, really? Well, my pool's nicer than yours. And you look kind of weird in your picture. I don't think it was any malice behind it, but there was definitely some shade being thrown. And Martha's an expert.
Gotcha.
I mean, there was shade, but I think it was funny, joking shade. Like, kind of like,
Martha Stewart
not taking each other seriously. Yeah,
Martha Stewart has been to federal prison.
I was going to say, she's been to federal prison.
Yes. She came out of prison, best friends with Snoop Dogg. She does not care,
prison.
Man.
No.
Yeah, right. Nice federal prison, but
first class federal prison.
My favorite part of it is she did an interview with E.T. where they asked her if she meant to post a thirst trap, and she was like, what is a thirst trap? And they explained they explained it to her, and then she goes, oh, absolutely, it was a thirst trap then. Like, yes, Martha.
Yeah. I feel like you can tell when Martha's she had commented on Gwyneth Paltrow's Goop candle
Yeah.
I don't know if I can say it on here, but her inappropriate sounding candle was the very first one. And Martha just kind of like straight up dissed it. Like, why would you, I can't remember exactly what she said, but she was kind of just like, why would you name, I don't want a candle that smells like that. Like, I mean, good for her. Do you, whatever.
She's 78 and she's an icon. Why is she going to hold back? She doesn't care.
Yeah. I feel like you can tell when Martha's being just like a complete, like, I don't care, but I feel like she was just having so much fun with Chelsea. And I feel like Chelsea was loving every second of it because I'm sure Chelsea absolutely loves Martha, which who wouldn't?
I mean, she's the best. She posted a picture of like a super hunky guy on her Instagram the other day, and everyone was like, "Who's that, Martha?" And she was like, And I'm like, "You are living your best life."
Yes.
Oh gosh,
so much.
She makes me want to make a tablescape. Good for you, Martha.
I
know. All right. On that inspirational last note, don't forget to follow popculture.com. We've got all your up-to-date news, especially on Martha. And follow us. We're on Facebook, Twitter. I'm at Anna Rumor.
I'm at Jameson G. Brown.
And I'm at V. McGotomy.
Drop us a rating, review, subscribe. We're on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, pretty much anywhere you have a podcast that you can download. We are there for you. So we'll talk to you next week.
Bye.